With all but one game being played through 3 weeks of the NFL season, there's a lot to take away from this week in the NFL. For starters, no quarterbacks got injured this week severely, which is always a positive for the NFL, the fans, the teams, and the players themselves. The Lions and 49ers both have better records than the 2017 champion Eagles, which is something that surprises me through 3 weeks, and the Lions beat the Eagles in Lincoln Financial Field, which is something I definitely did not expect. Lamar Jackson came back down to earth today against the Chiefs, as he had no passing touchdowns in his first regular season game since Week 17 of last season. There was a lot that happened in Week 3, and that's what I'll discuss in today's video, is the 5 biggest takeaways from Week 3. Before I get started though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first takeaway is that the Green Bay Packers are legit. Through 3 games, they have given up only 35 points, which is insanely good, including just 3 to the defending division champion Chicago Bears and 16 in consecutive weeks to the Vikings and Broncos. While they have only put up 58 in 3 weeks, they have one of the best quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers, who can now put up 40 points on any defense on any given Sunday. They play the Eagles on a short week this week, and it will be their 3rd home game in a week and a half, and they should be more than ready for them. The Eagles will probably be without at least one of the two in Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson, if not both, and the Eagles in a loss to the Lions had 7 drops and 3 fumbles and clearly missed both of those receivers. The Packers have a good chance to start out 4-0, and for the first time in a long time, their defense is something to be aware of. The second takeaway from Week 3 is that Daniel Jones isn't as bad as everyone said he was. When the Giants took Daniel Jones 6th overall in the draft this past year, they took a ridiculous amount of criticism. However, through 3 weeks of his rookie season, he has proven the haters wrong in every step of the way. In preseason, he was an impressive 29 for 34, which is an 85% completion percentage on his passes. He threw for 416 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions as well. Now, all Daniel Jones did in his debut was throw for 336 yards on 64% completion percentage and have 4 total touchdowns, with star running back Saquon Barkley out for most of the game due to an injury. Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard each had 100-yard games with him as their quarterback, and the Giants won the game. Though we are just 1 start in the Jones career, he looks good and is undefeated as a starting quarterback. The third takeaway from Week 3 is the Houston Texans are a very good football team. The Texans should be 3-0. They should have never lost the way that they did to New Orleans back in Week 1 on Monday night to start their year. However, they are not and are a 2-1 team that just beat the Chargers on the road in a game where franchise quarterback Deshaun Watson had over 350 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. They did not run the football well as a team, as they had 19 carries for 39 yards. They also did a fairly decent job of containing Austin Eckler, who had 81 total yards. Keenan Allen had a career day, and that can be a problem down the road against a team like Kansas City or New England, but the Texans have the firepower to be able to compete with them on offense, assuming Deshaun stays healthy. The only problem for the Texans later in the year is Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady will stand in their way of a Super Bowl appearance. They have a good young core, and Deshaun Watson is undoubtedly their franchise quarterback. I love Watson as a player and as a person off the field, and wish him and the Texans nothing but success. The fourth takeaway from Week 3 is to start fantasy tight ends against the Cardinals every week. Back in Week 1, when TJ Hawkinson went for 6 catches for 131 yards and a touchdown, I thought he would break the mold for rookie tight ends and have a very good rookie season of maybe 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. However, in Weeks 2 and 3, he has a combined 2 catches for 8 yards and now has 8 catches on the year through 3 games. In Week 2, Mark Andrews had over 100 yards and a touchdown against the Cardinals, and although Andrews had a great Week 1 against the Dolphins, he had just 3 catches for 15 yards against the Chiefs in Week 3. In Week 3, Greg Olsen had 6 catches for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Cardinals, and was a very good fantasy contributor for the second time in 3 games. Next week, the Cardinals face one of my favorite young tight ends in Will Dissly of the Seahawks, and I expect them to have a big game against them. Dissly had a solid Week 3 against the Saints, where he had 6 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown, and should continue against the Cardinals based on their ability or lack thereof to stop tight ends through 3 games. The fifth and final takeaway from Week 3 is the Chargers are going to be okay without Melvin Gordon. The Chargers are 1-2 on the year and have losses to Detroit and now Houston. Their 2 losses have only combined for 10 points, so it's not like they look like the Dolphins where all their losses have been by 4 or more scores or anything along those lines. They have looked presentable and contented in each game. Their only win so far was an overtime win against the Colts back in Week 1. The next 3 games are at the Dolphins, which should definitely be a win, home against the Broncos, which should be another win, and home against the Steelers, which should be another win. They have the Chiefs in their division, so I don't think they were going to win the division to begin with, but they can certainly contend for the 5th seed wildcard and make noise in the playoffs, similar to last year when they beat Baltimore in the first round. Although they are 1-2 right now and 2 games back of the Chiefs at the end of the day are beatable like any other team. They only beat the Ravens in Week 3 by 5, despite Lamar Jackson having easily his worst performance of the year so far. The Chargers will be okay, and after Week 6 should be 4-2 and be right in the thick of things in the AFC. That's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Again, thank you for watching, and have a great day.